So the next thing we'll do here is I've got a scale on one side, I've got a couple of pins in there to register. This is G10, so it's still a nice shiny surface here, so I'm just going to scribe the shape of the handle. And what I'm going to do is, after I do that, just take that off, and hopefully you can see there's the handle. And what I'm going to do is, I like to grind a lot of this material off, not too close to the line, but reasonably close, about 1 millimeter outside the line, and I'll do that before I glue the knife up. That way there's less grinding when the knife's all together. I find that's easier. Grinding generates a bit of heat. If you generate too much heat, you can affect the bond, the epoxy. So yeah, when the knife's all together, I like the minimal amount of grinding, so I'll take this over to the grinder and I'll grind this off now. Okay, so here we are over at my grinder. This is a Tag 101 by Wilmot Grinders. Excellent grinder. One of the great things about it is it's a vertical and a horizontal grinder, so I've got it flipped over into the horizontal position at the moment, and got my dust collection system just here. And I'm going to turn this on. This is going to get noisy because the dust collection system is quite noisy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grind down just outside these lines. So here we go. There you have it. You can see the scribe lines. I'm almost down to them. Left myself a little bit of room. The other good thing is you can really rip into this. You can see this is not a super fresh, but a reasonably fresh zirconium 40 grit belt, so quite coarse. And I've got it cranked up to 11, and I just rip into it. You can see a little bit of burning around the edge, but that doesn't matter. I've given myself enough leeway that later on I can, much slowly and much more carefully, I can grind that burnt area down to a final finish, and that'll all be gone. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my speed and turn it all the way down to as slow as it can go. What I want to do is, G10 is, which is what this backing material is, this liner, is not a very adherent material. It's quite hard to get a good bond to it. So what I like to do is I like to put some pretty coarse scratches in this. So I'm going to leave my 40 grit belt on. I'm just slowly going to run some deep scratches in here, so when I epoxy all this up, there's some nice textured, roughed up surface for the epoxy to bond to. You can see the scratches starting to appear. Where the scratches aren't so prominent, I'll put a little bit of finger pressure. Make sure we get every area. And there we go, that'll do. That's fairly well uniformly scratched up. The other thing I do is, I've got this Tang tapered, I finished tapering it on a 120 grit belt. So now that is, you know, there's probably a fair amount of bond there, but I'm just going to rough it up even more on the edge here. Put some nice deep 40 grit scratches in it. I don't know if you can pick that up, but yes, there's some good deep scratches in that surface. Now I'll just get a few up the front here, which are an area that I haven't done very well. Okay, there we go. So you can see the scratches in there. I'll do the same on the other side. And that's just about it. It's all ready to go. So this is where we are at the moment. Scales are rough shaped, pinned together. You can see the taper in the tang. Everything fits very nicely together, snug, not too tight, not too loose, perfect for gluing. All we'll do next is we have to shape the front of the handles here, because that's very hard, well, nigh on impossible to do after we've glued the scales onto the tang. So next thing we'll do is we'll shape those up.